Welcome to the news on Zodiac with me, Robert Kalua. The headlines this hour. High Court set for hearing of preliminary objections in a case DPP wants nullification of 2020 fresh presidential poll. CHRR calls on legislators to revise 4 laws which it feels are hindering progress at ATI law implementation. President Chakwera says investment in digitization is critical to mitigating development challenges in Malawi. And in sports, Standard Bank pledges 5 million kwacha towards Kuipa Tsamoto Flames Golf Tournament. The High Court, sitting as a constitutional court in Blantyre, is this Wednesday expected to hear preliminary objections in a case where Democratic Progressive Party wants nullification of the 2020 fresh presidential election. The court said during a previous sitting that this sitting would be possible if logistical challenges triggered by the Integrated Financial Management Information System are rectified. High Court Registrar Gladys Gondwe says all is set for hearing will proceed as scheduled. Happy Njelamano with more in this report.
Justice Sylvester Kalembera, who is leading a 5-member panel of judges, said in the last sitting that some of the judges are living outside Blantyre and therefore need logistical support. He, however, said there had been logistical challenges caused by the Integrated Financial Management Information System, which he said would affect hearing of preliminary objections from this Tuesday. Registrar of the High Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal, Gladys Gondwe, however, says everything is in place and the hearing will proceed as scheduled. This is the case where former governing Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, is challenging the 2020 fresh presidential elections. DPP lead lawyer Charles Muhango says his team is already in town for the hearing.
We have filed our papers opposing the preliminary objections and we are prepared to present our side of the story. It wouldn't be in order at this stage to preempt our arguments. You will hear them when we are in court.
Representing state is the Attorney General Tabo Chakakanyerenda.
Those objections were raised by us, and by raising them, it means that we're ready to proceed with those preliminary issues. So I'm more than ready now, more than prepared to act on the preliminary issues.
The DPP is challenging the elections on grounds that some of the electoral commissioners who administered the polls were not duly appointed.
In Lilongwe, businessman Zamir Karim has been granted stay order pending review of the proposition of state to add another charge of money laundering on the list of charges he's answering. He allegedly obtained a bank loan fraudulently to service a food ration deal with Malawi Police Service. The state applied for an additional charge last week. High Court has since set October 5 for hearing of arguments from the state and hence cancel on the last application. Our reporter Andrew Viano caught up with Director of Public Prosecution, Dr. Stephen Kayuni.
Well, as earlier on stated in the other that we've been served with a stay that the matter cannot proceed today. So we'll have to wait for the 5th of October when the High Court has sat down for a hearing of a criminal review of what proceeded, whether the legality and propriety of the decision that the Honorable CRM made when we last sat on the amendment of a charge sheet on money laundering count. Well, the legality of it is what frames the argument. We'll present our arguments in court when comes the 5th of October. Wouldn't be right for us to be preempting that before the media.
Well, staying with the courts, the state is expected to parade 5 more witnesses in the case in which former Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority Chief Executive Officer Dr. Collins Magalasi is accused of abusing office. Dr. Magalasi, it is alleged, used public efforts to pay 10.5 million kwacha for accommodation for Democratic Progressive Party officials at its 2018 convention in Blantyre. Director of Public Prosecution, Dr. Stephen Kayuni, who was speaking after a testimony of third witness before Senior Resident Magistrate Florence Msegandwana in Lilongwe, said they have lined up 8 witnesses in the case.
As Malawi joins the rest of the world in
Moving on, Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation has called on legislators to revive 4 laws which it feels are hindering progress in the implementation of access to information law in the country. CHRR Executive Director Michael Kayatsa notes that the country is struggling with the implementation, hence the call to review of the law that include Official Secrets Act and Electronic Transaction and Cyber Security Act. We've got more in this report, followed by Adinafe Mramba.
As Malawi joins the rest of the world in commemorating the International Day for Universal Access to Information, the Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation says the country is not making progress in the implementation of the Access to Information Act. The human rights body notes that most ministries are still withholding information, citing the recent Public Sector Review report. Executive Director for the CHRR, Michael Kayatsa, feels some laws have been hindering implementation of the Access to Information Act, hence the need to review them.
The Official Secrets Act, if you look at this piece of legislation, you find that Section 24 of this Act empowers public officials to withhold some information which they have come across in the course of their duties. We are also talking about the Electronic Transaction and Cyber Security Act of 2016, which also has some provisions which empower the government, for example, to restrict online communications. So what we are saying is that this provision empowers, the government, to restrict access, to the internet. And as we know, internet is very important with regards to access to information. So if the government is empowered to restrict this access, it means the right to information which is provided under Section 37 of the Constitution.
Chairperson for the Media Institute for Southern Africa, Teresa Ndanga, has concurred with Kayatsa, saying the laws are restrictive to journalists.
Where we still have laws that appear to hinder access of information, we definitely need to review them. Mr. Malawi has been advocating for a review of a number of laws, especially those that hinder access to information on the part of journalists. There is a whole list of laws that we need to look at. Some are really, really old laws, and we think that, they are being kept for political reasons.
The Access to Information Act became operational on 20th September 2020.
But Information Minister Gospel Kazako argues the law is operational and disputed accusations that some ministries and government institutions are hindering implementation.
The Access to Information law is very alive. Probably what we should be doing, we should be celebrating that Malawi for the first time is celebrating this day, a day that celebrates access to information while having a law in place. For many, many years, this law was not in its place. So instead of us looking at it from a differently structured way of looking at things, I think we need to be positive when you're looking at what we have achieved so far as a country. That does not necessarily mean that there aren't challenges. We have challenges, and we are certainly looking at those challenges to make sure that this law is doing what it's supposed to do. Remember, it is this government, the government of Lazarus Makafe Chakwera, that had made it possible that this law must be put into place.
If the Access to Information law is fully operational, can you please tell us why are most ministries withholding information despite the act being operational? A recent case being the recent Public Sector Review report, which has been kept from the citizenry.
Well, let me say that the Access to Information law is operational and it's fully operational. And nobody is withholding information. But you must also remember that there are provisions in that law, and those provisions do not necessarily provide that you shall provide you shall provide information within such a time. For example, the report that you're talking about, that report is something to do with the office of the president. It is the president that had directed the vice president to work on a report and submit it to his office. So at an opportune time, certainly the president will release it.
Truck drivers have in the country resumed a sit-in to invite attention of authorities to what they consider as issues standing in the way of their smooth operations. For example, in Dedza, the drivers have blocked access until they say their concerns over delays in the issuance of passports and cost of passports are sorted out. Nomsa Zimba with more in this report. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. Moving on, Administration of Junior Certificate of Education exams have commenced, generally on a positive note, the first after its suspension 5 years ago. Nonetheless, an incident was recorded in Lilongwe where examination time was delayed by 45 minutes due to communication lapses between the school authorities and officials manning a cluster center at Kawila CCAP.
A visit by our reporters in a number of examination centers across the country shows that the examinations have started on a positive note. Deputy Minister of Education, Madaliso Kambaua Wirima, accompanied by our reporters, visited 3 centers of Mzimba North as well as 2 in Mzuzu. Wirima told us that she's impressed and warned against any acts of cheating.
So we are glad that from the situation that we had with Malawi School Certificate of Education examinations, we learned some lessons, and it's through these lessons that we've also made sure that the JC examinations would not be subjected to the same problems that we experienced in the previous year for Malawi School Living Certificate.
Meanwhile, there was a 45-minute delay in starting time for exams in Lilongwe at Kawila CCAP due to communication breakdown between the school and the center managers. Commenting on this development, education expert Lexon Dalama has cautioned schools to improve on preparedness as this may impact students' results.
In response to what has happened in Chitete, it's always important that the education stakeholders take examinations seriously, because examinations are a high-stake thing, and once candidates are disturbed, they may affect their performance.
According to statistics from the Malawi National Examinations Board, a total of 135,000 candidates are sitting for this year's junior certificate examinations.
Minister of Health Kumbidze Kandodo Chiponda has appealed to the Roads Fund Administration to prioritize maintenance of roads for easy access to health facilities to effectively save lives in hard-to-reach areas. She was speaking during the handover of medical equipment by the Roads Fund, adding that personal protective equipment has not been enough in the sector, hence an appeal for more assistance in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Western Guta with more in this report.
The Roads Fund Administration says despite being affected in many ways by the COVID-19 pandemic, it decided to discharge its corporate responsibility by donating various medical equipment for the fight against the disease as government tirelessly fights to save lives. In light of this, Minister of Health Kumbidze Kandodo Chiponda says while demand for resources to fight the disease is high, there is need for the Roads Fund Administration to prioritize construction of good roads for easy access to hard-to-reach areas to minimize loss of life and direct wear and tear costs to equally important purposes.
Most of our people, they stay in the hard-to-reach areas, and they need to maintain the roads year in, year out. So I made a special appeal that tear and wear is very high in our ambulances because of the state of the roads, especially to our health facilities.
Board chairperson of the Roads Fund Administration, Matthew Zikankeni, says that despite the fund being affected in different ways, including scarcity of resources due to the pandemic, the minister's plea will be given priority as its contribution in fighting not only the pandemic, but also other diseases that are claiming lives.
We have seen our programs being delayed in terms of implementation. We have been affected in terms of resource mobilization. Some projects which should have been completed have not been completed. We have taken the plea from the minister seriously.
The Roads Fund Administration has donated oxygen concentrators and regulators, isolation gowns and surgical masks worth 50 million kwacha to be distributed in the country's referral hospitals in Blantyre, Zomba, Lilongwe and Mzuzu. For Zodiac, I am Western Guta.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more after this.
Charismatic International Primary School is informing the general public that it has opened a Cambridge syllabus school in Area 49 in New Shire. Charismatic International Primary School offers grade 1 to 6 and kindergarten. The school has all the facilities recommended for international curriculum. The school fees are affordable to suit your budget plan. Registration is in progress. Come and enroll now at Charismatic International Primary School. For more information, contact Charismatic International Primary School on 0.
Said, Madam. training set mmene inuyo eni ake mukufunira. Podziwa kuti anthufe timakhala nkukonda kosiyanasiyana. Awuzeni a Davina Furnitures akupangireni zinthu zolongosoka anthu ena asirire. Davina Furnitures ili pafupi ndi Gateway Mall, kungoloka msewu wochokera ku Mchinji roundabout ku Lilongwe. Ino amaloji, mahotel ndi onse okonda zinthu zabwino. Chitani telefoni ku nambala iyi: Davina Furnitures 0999 002 707.
Sombenya amalawi watukula malawi 2063 akale wozimira bae kufika 2063 akale wogomera aliyense achinyamata tikwirane manja tukula malawi achinyamata tikale patsogo tukula malawi malawi wozimira bae malawi wogomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
UNICAF University, September to October 2021 intake. Special scholarships available at UNICAF University for bachelor, master's, and doctoral degree programs. UNICAF University is accredited nationally by the NCHE and internationally by the British Accreditation Council in the UK. Enroll for internationally recognized degrees at a fraction of the cost. Feel safe knowing that your online studies with UNICAF University will not be disrupted by measures for the pandemic. From enrollment to graduation, everything runs smoothly online. Don't miss this golden opportunity. This offer is valid until the end of October 2021. So apply today and get a free tablet when you register and pay the required deposit. WhatsApp 0993 907 002 or go to www.unicafuniversity.ac.mw to find out more.
During times of confusion, loneliness, and shattered dreams, we search for hope, greater purpose, and more peace. This October, turn to the one who creates calm and clarity. Join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in a global worship service inspired by Jesus Christ. Be uplifted by music and messages. Soothe your soul. Find your peace. Watch this Sunday at 5:30 p.m. here on Zodiak TV.
Welcome back. A look at the headlines as we proceed. Chakwera says meaningful investment in digitization will help Malawi mitigate a spectrum of challenges it is facing in quest to realize tangible development. The president noted that with digitized systems in Malawi, a lot of socio-economic problems such as corruption would be reduced significantly as it promotes clean business dealings, increases accountability in public spending, and improves speed and efficiency of the public service delivery, among others. With more in this report, Madari Sopiri.
The International ICT Expo 2021 has officially been launched by President Lazarus Chakwera with an emphasis that digitalization is a key area in his development agenda. He said digitalization is one of the three accelerators to growth alongside job creation and food security. The president then ordered the Minister of Information to work alongside his counterparts from the Ministries of Justice and Trade to come up with legislation that will make it possible for ICT to be the main way of doing things in government. He said doing that could reduce corruption, among other vices. But speaking earlier, Players in the ICT sector, notably the president of the ICT Association of Malawi, ICTAM, Bram Fudzulani, and the Director General for the National Planning Commission, lamented low penetration of ICT products and services among Malawians. They attributed this to high taxes and asked the government to look into the issues. And Minister of Information, Gospel Gazago, says the government was engaging various players in the ICT sector to make sure that ICT services and products were affordable. For Zodiak, this is Madalito Piri reporting.
Chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Health, Dr. Matthews Ngwali, has demanded for vigorous action from rural masses to create evidence of demand for legalization of safe abortion in Malawi, amid resistance in Parliament to have a bill on the same tabled for possible adoption. Speaking during the Safe Abortion International Commemoration Day at Inchalo in Chikwawa this Tuesday, Dr. Ngwali said it is heartbreaking that Malawi is among the top countries registering high numbers of unsafe abortions-related deaths. With more in this report, Christopher Sunday.
Scores of government and civil society leaders and the youth gathered at Inchalo in Chikwawa on Tuesday to celebrate Safe Abortion International Commemoration Day in a country which has repressive abortion laws. Chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Health, Dr. Matthews Ngwali, has since called for action in order to prevent untimely deaths and complications caused by unsafe abortions.
You know, if you look at the number of women who die per every 100,000, in Malawi it is 439 women die. In a country where we have done nothing about, reforming our laws. If you go to countries that have done something, like Zambia, they've done a little. Their mortality rate for women is 218, almost half of our.
Gender activist Emma Kalia has since pleaded with Malawians to start reasoning in the interest of addressing challenges that women and girls are facing.
We realize that there is still a problem with communities. Not communities as in their own right, but because they are getting so much pressure from different groups, especially the religious community. Hence, we decided that we will retract a bit, make sure that we develop a proper communication strategy, and that communication strategy is the one that we are going to use to reach out to many.
A 21-year-old girl, Mary Piri from Malemia area in Nsanje, Chief Jimombo of Nsanje, and Senior Chief Chabananga of Chikwawa have asked members of Parliament to act fast by tabling and passing the abortion bill into law. Some activists and many faith-based groups have strongly been opposing the passing of the abortion bill, saying doing so is tantamount to giving a person a license to kill and that it is a sin to take a life. Reporting for Zodiac, this is Christopher Sunday.
On to entertainment. International artists lined up to perform at this year's Sand Music Festival have started arriving in the country, the first being Grams Morgan and Lexon from Uganda. Morgan told Zodiac on arrival at Kamuzu International Airport that he's excited to perform in the country at the 3-day festival as he has just released another album. This is the third time Morgan has come to Malawi to perform.
'Cause it clearly wasn't so. So tell me what to do.
I'm excited to return here. This is my 4th time to Malawi. It's been always a pleasure. I'm excited. We've been putting a lot of work in to put together the show. And it was a lot of work. My new album, Positive Vibration, brand new songs. So you'll get a little bit of the new songs and the original Grams Morgan. So it's my first time performing solo in Malawi. So I'm excited. The people of Malawi, do not forget the way of our ancestors. For if we as Africans forget it, then we in the West are lost. So it is important to hold on to our tradition and our cultures. So this is why we come from afar. We come all the way from Jamaica. People come from UK. People come from America. So I'm excited for Saturday night. Let's get ready.
And to sports, Standard Bank has pledged its support towards the Flames by pumping in 5 million kwacha towards the Kuipata Moto Flames Gold Tournament, aimed at fundraising for the Flames' participation in AFCON and World Cup qualifiers. Speaking during a check presentation ceremony in Lilongwe, Platform's business FE Malanje said the contribution is one way of complementing the government efforts in supporting the Flames. Thokozani Chimbali, member of the Flames African Resource Mobilization Task Force, described the donation as timely.
Football Association of Malawi announced that the Flames will need slightly over 1 billion kwacha to participate in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations, slated for January next year in Cameroon, as well as the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. However, government and FIFA have pledged to cover at least 3/4 of the amount, with FAM expected to raise over 500 million kwacha to reach the required amount. FAM has meanwhile set up a number of fundraising activities, including a golf tournament dubbed Kuipatsa Moto Flames, slated for 2 October in Lilongwe. On Wednesday, Standard Bank donated 5 million kwacha towards the golf tournament. Speaking during the handover ceremony, Standard Bank's head of platform business, F. Malange, said the donation is part of complementing efforts being undertaken by other stakeholders in supporting the Flames to fulfill their dreams of playing at AFCON finals.
We are an organization that wants to achieve various possibilities for Malawi and for our Flames men's national team. So this is what we've started with. I think as we go along, we will be able to review and see how other members of the nation, other partners would be able to achieve this.
Member of the Flames African Resource Mobilization Task Force, Thokozani Chimbali, thanked Standard Bank for the timely donation.
These contributions that are coming, an example of Standard Bank, that's what will make the Flames do well, because this will go towards preparations of the Flames, and come January 2022, the Flames will have been fully prepared.
Recently, National Bank donated 2 million kwacha, whereas First Capital Bank also donated 5 million kwacha towards the golf tournament. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
Well, on that note, we've come to the end of this bulletin, but before we go,